Hey guys, in this video I'll be comparing 1999 Ronnie Coleman and 2024 Arnold Classic Samson Dauda. Many have drawn comparisons between these two, stating that Samson is and could be the next Ronnie Coleman, and I thought that it would be interesting to see if that's true. Both are around the same height, massive in terms of muscularity, and are pretty imposing on stage, so this should make for a fun comparison. Before the video does start though, if you could like and subscribe, it would be much appreciated, and feel free to follow my Instagram linked below. With that all being said, let's get into this video. Alright, the first pose, the front double, is a great shot for both, but for different reasons. Ronnie has freakishly large arms, presenting peaked biceps, large swept triceps, and clean separation. He also has extremely long flared quads, which helps out his X-frame. Samson lacks those freaky bicep peaks and amazing separation in the arms, but he does have great overall mass and some tree trunks for legs. I'd say that his quads are on par with Ronnie's in terms of separation, however his darker and thicker skin washes out those details. Neither have amazing calves, however, as we'll see later, Samson definitely has the better pair. Midsections aren't small for either guy, however Samson's utilization of a vacuum helps him create the illusion of a better V-taper. Ronnie does still have amazing wide lats and a detailed and tight midsection, and I'd say that his overall X-frame superiority in that case, compensates for his lackluster midsection. Since Ronnie does have those freaky arms and legs and doesn't comprehensively lose to Samson anywhere, I'd say that he would win the pose. Unlike the front double, which was not a complete blowout, the front lat spread is a total Ronnie Coleman domination. He wins the lats, having lower insertions and better development, he has thicker quads and comparable separation, and his upper body size and conditioning is tremendous. Samson does have massive arms and delts, a thick chest, and amazing quads. However, he gets outclassed by Ronnie's striations, thin skin, and overwhelming development. I'd really only have Samson winning in the midsection, however, even that is debatable because it looks elongated due to his high lats. While some may prefer Samson's smaller waist and arguably more aesthetic look, Ronnie's conditioning and muscularity advantages are too much for Samson to handle. The side chest is one of those poses which Samson always looks amazing in leading up to the show, and he still does look pretty good here. He has an incredible side leg showcasing world-class separation and size, a thick and conditioned chest, and a large delt and arm. His real downfall lies within his inability to get shredded, as although he has comparable size to Ronnie, almost everywhere he falls short in the overall conditioning. While he does have great side leg separation, as I said earlier, Ronnie is really on another level, showcasing even deeper cuts and more of them. He also has such thin skin on those arms and delts, showcasing impeccable detail and conditioning. Moreover, Samson's midsection control has seemed to regress a little bit, as it protrudes a bit, which mars his overall flow. Ronnie's midsection isn't the tightest either, however it shows great detail and looks more controlled than Samson's. If Samson was just as conditioned as Ronnie, I think that this would be an extremely close call, however Samson's lack of intricate detail leaves much to be desired. The rear double was and still is one of Samson's most criticized poses, however I think that he's really improved upon this pose in the last few years. His back looks pretty impressive in the upper half with those great traps and detailed and wide lats, however he still does need a bit more width and overall lat thickness. His lower back does look pretty good though, showcasing solid conditioning, and his arms and delts look detailed and not too far behind Ronnie's in the conditioning area. Ronnie does have those peaky biceps and he does have superior back thickness. However, the real blowout happens downstairs. Although Samson held his own in the upper half, his lack of glute striations really holds him back against much of his competition. He does have great hamstrings and respectable calves, however compared to Ronnie, it is clear that he isn't in that top caliber of conditioning. Because of that, Ronnie would certainly and most definitely win against Samson, as the disparity between the two is too great in conditioning. The rear lat spread, like the rear double, is a heavily criticized pose for Samson. While he looks much better than he did just a year ago, you can clearly see that he needs more width to match his larger frame. Surprisingly, he has comparable trap and lower back thickness to Ronnie, however his conditioning in the lower back isn't nearly as good, and he doesn't have those low, thick lats of Ronnie. Once again, the leg department is an easy win for Ronnie in terms of conditioning alone, since Samson does have comparable hamstrings and quad sweep. I wholeheartedly believe that if Samson was just as conditioned as Ronnie, this pose with the same muscularity would be a world-class rear lat spread. As it is though, I think Samson needs a bit more conditioning overall. The side tricep may look like an easy win for Samson at first glance, and while he does win it, it isn't necessarily an easy win. Although Ronnie's midsection is completely messed up and he isn't pressing in his side leg to maximize its size, he does have a thick chest, great arm, and strided delt. The picture really doesn't do him any justice though, so let's take a second look at the pose. Here's a different picture, which unfortunately is pretty bad quality, however you can see the overall posing is much better. His midsection is tight and more controlled, his tricep and delt are strided, and his side leg looks a bit better, albeit not by much. That all being said, Samson does look undeniably better. Although he's not as defined in the tricep and delt, he has much better presentation of the side leg. He presses his arm against his side to create the illusion of more size, and his conditioning overall isn't that bad. He also has a more aesthetic midsection, similar development in the delt and chest, and a great silhouette. While Ronnie does look pretty good, I think that Samson executes the pose much better and therefore wins the shot. The ab and thigh is not what you would call an aesthetic pose for either, however they do have decent V-tapers, great quads, and similar structures. Samson does immediately draw my attention as his V-taper is cleaner and he has feathered quads, however his abs surprisingly are less aesthetic than Ronnie's. Although he has genetically superior ab genetics, they appear less developed and not as separated as Ronnie's. Ronnie is at a genetic disadvantage in the ab department, however his midsection is tighter around the obliques and looks more controlled. Additionally, he has the superior quads in my opinion, as although he lacks the feathering, he has more separation, fullness, and size. I'd honestly go with Ronnie here as I'm not a fan of Samson's midsection at all. While he might have a better taper and abs on paper, in reality Ronnie's superior conditioning and quads sway me in favor of him winning. The last pose, the most muscular, is a crazy shot for Ronnie, while it isn't necessarily anything special for Samson. Ronnie presents Hadi Chupin-esque conditioning here, having a deeply cut and strided chest, crazy arms, and perfectly separated quads. The only place where Samson wins, in my opinion, would be the delts, as they are round and full. However, his midsection is pretty washed out and his arms show no separation between the bicep, tricep, and brachialis. His chest does show signs of striations, however they aren't nearly as deep or pronounced as Ronnie's. Samson is big and full, however his lagging condition makes him look a lot less freaky than Ronnie, who looks peeled to the bone and massive simultaneously. Alright guys, that about does it for this comparison. In short, I think that the glaring difference between these two would be their conditioning. Sure, one could argue that Samson doesn't have the same muscle bellies and proportions of Ronnie, however he does have the mass and arguably more aesthetic shape than the king. I really hope that Samson's conditioning isn't limited by genetic factors, as I think that if he came in with even 75% of Ronnie's conditioning, he could win the Olympia. Honestly, better arm separation and strided glutes would be enough, as his overall muscularity is on par with the top guys. Better midsection development and control would be like the cherry on top. However, we are just going to have to wait and see what he can bring. With that all being said though, I hope you all enjoyed this video and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.